Often, when I'm advising people in business or in life, it's the question itself that does the most work. The right prompt can uncover a great deal. It nudges our thinking and sometimes can nudge us out of thinking traps that we didn't know we were sitting in. I've built the 12 readings to give you a set of tools that you can apply, all of them, or a selection, when you're trying to make sense of a challenge, a decision, or a pattern that keeps showing up. Now, the 12 readings are not a checklist, it's a process for stepping back, bringing systems thinking and a more complete human view to whatever you're facing. So you apply the ones that are calling to you and then return to the others when you're ready. It's wonderful to have you here. This is Life Vocabulary, and in this stream and video, what I want to talk to you about is burnout, getting exhausted, tiring yourself out completely versus being much more effective. And how do you do that? Because we hear about optimization all the time. We hear about, oh, must be more productive, must add this hack, must do this thing. And I think there is an issue we have with our own analysis, which is why I've created, devised, designed these 12 readings for you to apply these 12 lenses, if you like, to increase your fluency so that you can actually coach yourself much more effectively so that you don't burn out, so that you don't suffer overwhelm. Now, I'm a coach, I'm an online mentor, I'm a critical friend. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. These readings that I've created are tools for thinking much more clearly about your own life. They are not clinical guidance. If something surfaces for you that needs much more than this framework can give, then please go and get that support. There is no version of my work here that can replace a clinician's advice. Let's get to it. So, for a great deal of time, being a creative, being in comms and media, communications and media, being in the world of politics and commentary, as well as coaching businesses and brands, I figured through my more recent postgraduate study, doing a master's in systems thinking, that when it comes to our personal dilemmas and issues, what's missing is our approach to more effectively analyze and synthesize, but even before that, is to critically think about what's going on and how can we actually improve our circumstances. And this kind of thinking requires some time to cultivate and refine. And so that's why reflection is so important. But we're not really encouraged to do that. And now that we have LLMs coming out of our ears, our immediate response is to go to those for accessibility to more refined thinking instead of cultivating ourselves. And what I repeat often on my other channels for my different audience segments is that we shouldn't allow our cognitive skills to rot and to degrade. And so that's why I've created these 12 readings for us using my background in systems thinking as a creative, as a strategist, that you can apply. So let's apply a couple to this issue of burning out versus being more effective. Reading 1 is about power and freedom. By applying this, you can get to understand the situation you're in, the dilemma, in a way that we often neglect to. Who holds power in the situation, the dilemma you find yourself in? Who is holding the power in this situation? Structurally, relationally, culturally? Which constraints that you're experiencing are actually real? Which of them are real, and which are perhaps stories that you've carried and absorbed along the way? Because we know that happens as well. Let me ask you another prompt. Who is actually benefiting from you not seeing this clearly and not actually questioning this power and freedom dynamic? Because this reading will essentially name for you, when you're doing this reflection and analysis work, what's actually operating before you decide how to move, before you decide, this is what the next step must be, instead of reacting, because our reactivity is quite high for all of us at the moment. So before you can actually adjust your strategy, what you need to know is, what is the game that's actually being played? Until you can draw even a mental map of the dynamic of power and freedom in the dilemma that you're experiencing, you can't figure out, hang on, what is the game being played? What's at stake? What's holding me back? Who doesn't want me to understand the code? Who's evading? Who's hiding that part of the puzzle from me? So when you begin to map this out, you can actually begin to notice things that you've perhaps left out, because when you're reactively thinking about this personal dilemma, this situation that you're facing, you're not able to fully appreciate everything that's going on within this picture. And that's when we end up making poor decisions for ourselves. That's when we end up taking on the most basic cookie cutter personal development help. And that's not the kind of help that I'll be offering here. That is not the kind of help that I can offer, because that's not actually how I approach matters of life, business, politics, current affairs, strategy, writing, creating, all these parts of my ecosystem of work. I cannot possibly thrive in them, achieve them, do them well by applying cookie cutter methodology, because it's rife, it's everywhere. And not only is it everywhere, that approach and that methodology to doing life that we hear all kinds of personal development gurus and life coaches spouting has essentially just been funneled into LLMs. We've got to get better at reflecting and doing much more stronger analysis for ourselves. That was reading one of looking at the dynamic of power and freedom. I want to get to another one, and I will be going through all 12 of these readings over here on all life vocabulary dedicated channels. So no fear, I will be doing that. But another lens, another way of understanding our situation is through reading 11, which is about systems awareness. We don't get taught this in school. We don't even get taught this in work. This is hiding. This is being hidden from us. You are not just an individual making choices in a vacuum. You are inside structures, you are inside institutions, economies, cultures, algorithms, and all of them will shape for you and me, for us, what feels possible. What systemic forces are actually operating on your situation, the dilemma that you're facing, that you've actually perhaps been personalizing? I've got an example for this. This reading 11 of systems awareness, makes the structural visible, because it can feel invisible. We forget that it's there. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the hello in the comments. Thank you so much for if you're in the live stream, and if you're in the recording, welcome. So a lot of this structure is hidden from us. It's invisible. So we have to make it visible for our own understanding, even if we can't change it. By understanding what's actually going on in the structure and in the system, we can be much more refined and effective in our strategy and in the way we approach it. So what systemic force is actually operating on your situation that you have been personalizing? Because this reading makes a structure visible, so you can stop blaming yourself for the weather. You can stop blaming yourself for things completely and utterly out of your control. So, for instance, take something that you've been blaming yourself for, whether it's a failure, a struggle, a stuckness, even a sickness. Now ask, what are the structural conditions that are contributing to this? What systems are and were at work? And what should someone do, perhaps from a completely different background? Your background, what's the context here? Because when you stop making it entirely personal, you can begin to see what the possible outcomes could be, what the possible next steps could be in order for you to be much more effective, not keep doing the same thing over and over, and then eventually getting stuck, getting overwhelmed, and burning out. Let me give you an example. As a parent to a teenager, I am hugely frustrated with the education system, hugely frustrated with the education system. I'm hugely frustrated with the way in which learning differences and complex needs are approached and are paid lip service to when it comes to providing support. I had to remind myself that regardless of whether certain stakeholders are saying that they will do A, B, and C, the system is still the system. There is still going to be a bottom line. The education system operates like a business. And we have to see ourselves within that, because I can't, regardless of how much I advocate, I can't actually get everything for my teenager that my teenager deserves. And you know, for anyone who, like me, is an adoptive parent, knows that from the early years of adoption, especially through the UK foster system, you have to become your child's best advocate in order to get all the support services, in order to get every professional opinion, assessment, therapeutic intervention for the well-being of your child. And so you become very strong at doing this. Perhaps you can relate, but you can get exhausted when you're doing it because you forget, hang on a second, I'm still within a system. I'm still within a system. So without this systemic awareness, you just keep going and blaming yourself when you don't get results. So what do we have to do to be much more effective so that we don't blame ourselves, so that we don't get exhausted, so that we don't burn out? Perhaps you can apply this to the work situation. Perhaps you can apply this to a real personal grievance or a falling out. What is actually going on around you, around the actors involved? What is actually going on around you that could be impacting the health of the dynamics? How are you having to operate within a system? If it's a struggle with a marriage, there's a system of values, there's a system of expectations involved. Because not only are you having to find harmony with your own values, your own ideas of harmony and companionship and happiness and contentment with one another, you've also got the conditioning that you both have, systemic conditioning about what you deserve and what should be given to you and what your experience should be. That's a system also operating. You know, if you want to get married, if you want to find a partner, but now we've got the gender wars, we have every pocket of belief currently causing great polarization between people online and offline. We have the bad faith actors, the good faith actors. And there's a lot of helpful data and a lot of unhelpful data. And my views on a lot of this are known. I'm not going to be one of those creators or even coaches whom you'll find out later, this is what they believe, let's cancel them. You'll know because I have a current affairs channel. I talk about things on my personal Substack as well as my personal YouTube channel. I am transparent. And so what I'm telling you as a systems thinker within this coaching space for your life is that to get what you want, you have to be really pragmatic and real. If you know you want this key stakeholder in your life and they exist within another systemic realm of values and ideas, you're going to have to take that on and find some kind of harmony with it rather than seek to convert it. And this is what I find missing in so much of the coaching, personal development guru space advice. It is very rose tinted, or it is high value driven. This is it. So they're giving you the systemic conditioning, or they are keeping you within a space of push and pull, still trying to figure it out. Let's just get into nuance. Nuance is great, but let's be absolutely real. It doesn't matter how much nuance you share in order to get to understanding. People will have their systemic beliefs and conditioning, and you've got to work within that framework. And if they are, or you are able to get a bit more flexible with the dismantling and the essentially deconstruction of your conditioning, then you have something to fight for. Until that happens, until you have curious beings whom are open to engage in a good faith way, harmony is going to be pretty difficult. Everyone is bringing their own baggage and their own systemic conditioning. You cannot separate by purely looking at the individual, because in this realm, in this world that we're in, we are not individuals alone. We have all kinds of influences that are impacting us. I really do appreciate your time as you enter this world, this realm of life vocabulary, which started in 2015 as a life coaching, personal development space, and has since been through many iterations and is here to provide you with these 12 readings that are absolutely not a program. That is not how I operate. Because what I'm doing here as part of my purpose, as part of my mission, whether it's my Substack, Serena's Playbook for Creators and Brands, my current affairs, critical thinking channel, and my personal content, my written content, my book, upcoming book, is to ask you, regardless of the realm that you're in, to not only protect your cognitive ability, but to level it up. And it's got to be done within this personal life realm. If it's not happening in our personal lives, then we are all absolutely, because we see it spilling over everywhere. And so I will never be here to just give you methodology. I'm here to encourage you to reflect. And I've provided you with 12 readings, which I'll be talking about much, much more. 12 readings for you to apply these 12 ways of looking at any situation to gain greater fluency in your life vocabulary. This is why we're here. This is why you've been listening thus far. I appreciate you. There are many ways to get in touch with me. There are many ways to work with me. Find it in the description. If it's not there currently, I will put it there right now. And I'll see you in the next video, the next Substack, the next short, the next stream, the next podcast. It's all available to you. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you in the next one.